how do we really define an agency that really knows their stuff, knows what they're doing, and can get me the results I want?
First factor, if possible, is to actually request the account or the project person to kind of be involved in the early stage discussion for you to kind of evaluate. So request to have a conversation with their project managers, so then you can ask some questions to ensure that it's aligned.
And today we have with us a very influential entrepreneur in our local market here in Singapore, Sky. He's been in the influencer marketing space, and now he's also into product space. I see a lot of his ads on social media channels. How do I control that these 20 people or influencers are going to post at the same time?
Yes. Whenever they receive a product, how much effort they actually put in to prioritize, how fast can they actually get the content up for you, how flexible they are in terms of revising the content.
If we had to restart building, do you have an order that you would set up these departments?
I would say that the sales team is still the most important. With revenue, then you're able to hire your other departments, right? First and foremost, sales team. Then secondly, you need your fulfillment team, right? And once we have that fulfillment team, then minimally you need your finance to help you keep our books. I would say these are probably the important functions that we have.
So hi guys, welcome to another episode of our S2S podcast. And today we have with us a very influential entrepreneur in our local market here in Singapore. He's been in the influencer marketing space, and now he's also into the product space. Like, I see a lot of his ads on like some of the social media channels, and I think he's been gaining traction as well. So we're going to cover that. So right now, I would like to introduce you to our guest, Sky.
Hello.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. How do you get started on this entrepreneurship journey?
My entrepreneurship journey started 13 years ago, a very long time. 13 years ago, ever since my Polytechnic days, I was in Ngee Poly and I was so passionate about building business. It started from, I realized myself constantly spotting for opportunities, wanting to solve problems, looking at gaps, looking at rooms for ideas. And most of the time, while in school, I'm usually on my laptop researching on business ideas, building business plans, even though, in a class. Yeah, so I was so passionate, and I actually, put up a business plan and actually pitched my first idea to the school, Ngee Poly, and that's where they funded my first startup. That was how it began. Fast forward down to right after national service, actually I started my own influencer marketing agency. It's called X10 Media, running it 9 years now. It's been a roller coaster. We spent a lot of time and efforts to build a space. 9 years ago, it was a constant uphill. The industry was still at a very early stage. Back then, it was the blog and YouTube era, where this Instagram or micro influencers was still not a thing at all. So when we go to brands and try to pitch this this influencer profiles, it was very challenging. They didn't really see as much value back then. They were very used to the bigger bloggers and YouTubers. So the concept of engaging an influencer to shoot a product, to post about it, it was hard back then to explain to even brands and marketers. And I'm really glad 9 years down, now it became such a important marketing strategy for all the brands. And I believe that the industry shaped itself through multiple agencies, always speaking to these brands, these clients, and ultimately the growth of influencers pool as well in the industry. So I think it's been really a roller coaster, but I'm glad to see the industry take off, and from there we've definitely building team, growing the team, building a business. I think that's what that's actually the greatest satisfaction from an entrepreneur.
What were, if you could recall, what was one of the biggest ones that you had to kind of overcome?
It wasn't easy to even get brands to pay a marketing budget. We had to do free campaigns, right, to really build up portfolio, to show this the brands and marketers what we can do. That's one. Second, it's also back then you really have to be have a close group of this very supportive influencers that are willing to also do free campaigns for you.
How did you actually rally these people to support you? How do you find these talents in the first place?
Before this, I was in the event space, so I meet a lot of people. I really believe a lot in networking, in meeting people, in ensuring that we connect with them. right? Within the first, even I always have this habit of connecting with people on social media, even though I just meet or speak with them for just a few minutes. This connection would actually be helpful to what we are doing, probably in the near future or the longer future. So from there, I actually got to know this first group of or first pool of micro influencers really through meeting them from events. And I'm glad that they were really supportive to for us to propose their profiles to the brand, to include in to some campaigns that we either had to do free or for a very low budget amount. And these influencers, some of them actually grown really big in the space now.
So these influencers,
Yeah.
maybe for the people who are not familiar with like influencer marketing, right? What are micro influencers and what's the other category?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's different categories of influencers. I would say that the smallest type of influencers these days, we actually call them a nano influencer. So a nano influencer, at least for definition, it's between 1,000 to 10,000 followers. A micro influencer is someone with about 10 to 30,000 followers. From 30,000 to 80 or 100,000 followers, we call them the mid-tier influencers. The 100,000 followers and above range, we call them the macro influencers. This actually differ market to market. In markets like Indonesia, for example, with a way bigger population, even if you have 100,000 over followers, you will still be categorized under the micro influencers range.
Okay, so there's some proportion of relativity to the
Yes.
entire like country size and
Exactly.
population and all.
Yeah.
Okay, so if let's say, I mean, because our audience, I think likely would be business owners, business leaders, and I'm going to start a company.
Yep.
Let's say I want to adopt influencer marketing.
Right.
What would be your advice? How should I think about it? What kind of, like that you mentioned 3-4 tiers, right? Nano, micro, mid, and macro.
Yep.
How should I look at it? Should I, for example, set aside a big budget because I want to hit the biggest pool of audience? Go with the biggest, or what would be your advice? Yeah.
I think first and foremost, it depends on how well funded your startup is, right? Right. So if your startup is well funded, then I would recommend definitely to look at macro influencers first. Why macro? I know definitely they're going to be expensive. That's actually the fastest way to penetrate into the market, to build consumers in terms of their trust and also your brand credibility towards your product or your brand, right? Because people actually are very familiar with these macro influencers. So the fastest way to be able to gain the consumer's trust is definitely to engage people that they are familiar with, right? To talk about the product, to talk about your service. And from there, then you can subsequently look at engaging mid-tier or micro influencers. Having said that, in reality, we know that a lot of startups, we actually start with a very lean model, right? Bootstrap, right? And if we don't have a luxury of engaging the macro influencer, then probably it's also good to start from the micro influencers to kind of look at a more affordable way of scaling up. Yes, so that's what I would think would work best. Yeah.
Okay. So these two categories, now we've kind of defined it based on their number of following or number of followers.
Yeah.
So let's say assuming, for example, I have budget, I have funding, and I want to go macro.
Yeah.
What are some other factors to help me determine which macro influencer should I select? Yeah.
That's a very good point. I would say most of the brands and marketers these days, probably, I mean, everyone, right, would look at firstly, how their profile, right? You take a look at how many followers they have, how many engagements they have, how many likes, how many comments, or what are the type of people that actually comment on their posts. Apart from that, you will definitely take a look at what type of content they do. So that is one. Secondly, I would actually encourage beyond just looking at their profile. to on the surface in terms of what they do and in terms of their engagement rate, but also to deep dive in to take a look at their audience demographics, to look at not just seeing this influencer do a fitness content, for example, but actually do have a huge pool of followers that are also fitness enthusiasts. For an example, right? Not necessarily today. Example, right? I follow a fitness influencer, but I might not be a fitness enthusiast myself. So then it will not be able to effectively convert me as a consumer. So I'd say that coming back, the only answer to that is that beyond just looking at the influencer's profile to ensure that there's an influencer feed, we need to also ensure an audience feed. So audience feed meaning their followers actually would align with the target audience that you are reaching out to. A lot of times brands and marketers miss this out. You just see, oh, this influencer looks suitable for my brand. Okay, I engage the influencer, right? And how do we look at audience feed? There's a few ways we can look at data. One, the more manual and way would be to ask the influencers to actually share with you their profile insights or data, right? From their own Instagram or TikTok profile. I would say that that's usually a bit of a harder way, and it takes a lot of time, right? To wait for them to respond, to send their insights, then you slowly do your selection, or they might not even be comfortable sharing with you their insights. If today you're a new brand, they are not familiar with your brand, or there's no authority in a way, then the other way would then be to look at utilizing type of software or tools to look deeper into their profile. So at my agency Extend, we actually invest in this AI data platform to look deeper into the influencer profiles, and that's the value that we provide our clients.
Okay.
So from there, then we are able to see data, example, age group of their followers, right? Age group breakdown of their followers. We look at gender breakdown. We look at their audience interests, what their audience actually interested in, and so on and so forth. That would then align better with your target audience.
So what you're saying is it's not just enough to kind of just scroll their IG profile or social media profile.
Yes.
It's this other thing we talked about called the audience fit.
Yes.
Meaning, if we break that down, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, for example, if let's say you're going to market a product,
yes,
you want to know that these people who are their followers would have the potential to purchase that service or be the right audience to at least be advertised to.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then we talked about how to kind of define or understand their audience fit, right? One is a manual way, getting them to send you some information.
Yeah.
The other way is we work with some kind of like a influencer agency.
Yes.
Right. Talk a bit about. So I know you run X10 Media. It's an influencer marketing agency, right? How has that evolved? Like since when you started back then, when you mentioned it was just blog and YouTube to now, I mean, there's a plethora of social media platforms, right? IG, TikTok, etc. Even the Chinese ones. Xiaohongshu, Bilibili, and all that. Yeah. How has that evolved? Like for agency owner, like.
Interesting, because over the years, we, I would say that the way really for us to crack the market, in the earlier years, it's really repeated pitching to brands, right? The repeated pitching, the repeated proposals. You would probably when you first approach a brand, you might build a proposal. The proposal might be rejected, and then a few months down, you build another proposal again to kind of pitching again. I think that's where we come from. But I would say that subsequently, the industry has evolved where you start seeing a wider variety of influencers actually coming up, right? Actually during the COVID period, right? That's where you see a lot of home and family content coming up. That's when you start seeing, actually there's more parenting influencers that actually start building their profiles. So for example, right? So I would say, as an agency owner, what we constantly have to do of course, on a minimum, we need to stay updated to trends. But apart from that, we need to already start having that vision to look at in the next 6-12 months or next 24 months, what's going to come up. And sometimes what we do is also we look at overseas trends, right? We look at trends either in US and China, for example, to kind of then see where Singapore will be heading next in terms of the industry. Apart from that, as an agency owner, we constantly need to ensure that the materials or the workflow and the process adapts well with how the industry is moving.
Okay.
Right? So if today, for example, Xiaohongshu or TikTok is coming out, right, then the next question is, do we, as the agency owner, do we equip our team with the materials or their deck, their slides when they talk to brands, right? Do they actually have those information within their deck to actually talk to clients? And also not just that, but being able to train them well to actually pitch well and build a good proposal as well to include that. So I would say being an agency owner, we have to be constantly in terms of being able to tweak and adapt to how the industry is moving. And from there, we also have to do a lot of A/B testing and a lot of trial and errors to see what works, to see what doesn't work, right? There's a period where TikTok is just coming up. We did a lot of pitches with brands and marketers, but after a while, we realized that they just wanted to learn about the industry, and they're actually not ready to commit to a campaign yet. So there's that period, and then now so I would actually say that what I realized is first mover actually really the best thing. It's yes and no, right? First mover gives an advantage of starting early, but then we see example how Grab came into the market, in Singapore market, after Uber, and still dominate the space, right? So first mover, it looks good, but it's just really a uphill of where the market is not ready yet.
Right. So earlier on, you mentioned this also relating to the agency. So you mentioned that y'all have this AI software or tool that helps to analyze all these things. How did that come about?
Right. That actually came about while I was in Indonesia, right? During my business trip, I was actually with an agency partner in Indonesia, in Jakarta. We're just over dinner we were talking about, and then the agency partner actually do kind of a share about existing platforms around that actually serve this type of purpose, and somehow he know of a group of developers that would be able to build and run a platform like this. So kind of actually they introduce over to me, and I work with the group of developers over the past 2 years now. So I would say that it starts from that mission as a founder or as an agency owner of wanting to serve your clients better. It starts from how eager or how hungry you are to kind of improve your product or your service, and when you really put that as your primary motivation, naturally conversations with everyone you meet would open up opportunities for you, right? Because if I don't have that mentality wanting to improve the way that we actually serve our clients, then probably we'll just still be doing the very usual way of just engaging an influencer, very traditional, just engaging influencers, right? But but because constantly I want to be able to improve results for brands, and then my conversations with the agency partner actually lead us to that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a very like a client first approach. Like you're thinking how to constantly evaluate, constantly like innovate. To make things better. I mean, there's this principle called the Kaizen principle, right? Like you're constantly seeking to improve to
Yes.
better, whatever you have been doing, to basically give more impact, more value.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So okay, so let's say let's say I'm a business owner, right? And I run a couple of businesses. I want to engage like an influencer marketing agency.
Yes.
What are some, if you had like a checklist or something like say what should I, when I talk to these agencies, right? What are maybe like 3 or 5 things that maybe 3 things that I should look out for,
Right.
that will tell me this agency, because I think with the uprise of all these social media platforms, we see so many people talking about social media. I know marketing, I know branding.
Yes.
How do we really define an agency that really knows their stuff, knows what they're doing, and can get me the results I want?
I think first and foremost, it's clients don't usually do this, but being on the agency side, I know that sometimes the person pitching to you and the person executing the campaign, right? Some agencies, some of their sales team can sell really well, right? But then the execution team actually might not be able to catch up with what the sales team actually do promise. So I would say that first factor, if possible, is to actually request for the account or the project person to kind of be involved in the early stage discussion, right? For you to kind of evaluate. So request to have a conversation with their project managers, so then you can ask some questions to ensure that it's aligned.
Okay. So these 2 people, right, that we're talking about, the salesperson or sometimes the business executive, the one that's pitching, is not necessarily the one that's involved in, I guess, project managing or running the campaign.
Exactly.
Okay. So what you're saying is, instead of just meeting this BD or salesperson alone, we should request for a meeting. Can I also have your account manager in that same meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
okay.
right. I think that's
a good tip.
Yeah. That's one important tip when you look at agencies. Second, definitely, I think the most important hygiene factor is to look at their past works and their past case studies, right? What have they actually done? What are the type of brands they have served, right? But apart from just looking at their their past works and case studies, also then I would say that engaging an influencer, everyone can do it, right? Like every agency can engage an influencer. So then a lot of times you also want to see how comprehensive that case study is, how that the campaign runs. So if I'm the client, I would beyond just looking at the case study slide that they provide me, from the case study, say for example they have done a work for this brand, I'll actually then go on to social media to actually do research about the exact campaign. Right. Of course, because case studies, like, we'll put up the best data possible, right, to impress our client, right? So then looking at the actual campaign, right, they might showcase, these are our top 3 influencers that perform well, but we want to look at all the influencers that were involved in the campaign. How did they perform? What's the type of video or content quality they do? What were the actual engagements? And or even results, right? We sometimes would want to find out what are the type of results that they manage to achieve for their client beyond just the lights or the awareness type of matrix. I think that's important to kind of understand the agency. Last but not least, of course, if you're well connected with in the industry, you might want to, of course, do a cross reference check with some of the clients they engage, if you happen to know them, right? To ask about their experience working with the agency. That would be the safest, because the client would have worked with the agency before and would be able to tell whether the agency is good in what they do or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was also thinking, because I have an option as a business owner, right? Could I reach out to the influencer myself?
Yes.
Versus go to an agency?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's the difference? What are some pros and cons?
Right.
Right.
It depends on your speed to market, right? Yes, definitely you can do the outreach. But a lot of times, you might really need to send out either a huge volume of them to get some of them to reply. That's one. And if you're doing a very cold approach on an Instagram or to their email, probably the response rate is going to be very low. And then you might not meet your objective. Say for example, you really want to do a 20 to 50 influencers huge bang campaign for Christmas, right? But then if you do your outreach, it's not guaranteed you'll get a 20 to 50, right? You might just example get a 5 to 10.
Okay.
Then kind of your objective will be compromised in a way. Right?
Is this also what we're talking about is like on a campaign level?
Yeah.
What you're saying is, if let's say I really want maybe like a coordinated kind of I don't know what's it called. It's like a flash mob or something, right?
Yes,
Like everybody
yes.
posts at one time.
Yes.
How do I control that these 20 people or
Yes.
influencers are going to post at the same time?
Yes. So that's
Right.
one.
Okay.
Exactly. Second, it's no, what's most important is that we know that influencers they work with a lot of brands, they are working on a lot of campaigns. So now because as agency we've worked with a lot of all these influencers, we know that which are the influencers that are good in what they do, not just on the surface. Beyond just profile, it's about behind. It's about example, right? Whenever they receive a product, do they how much efforts they actually put in to prioritize? How fast can they actually get the content up for you? How flexible they are in terms of revising the content, right? Because you actually see the finished product on their profile, right?
Okay.
The finished video, right?
Right.
But the process might be, you never know. This influencer might already owe the brand 1 year. Meaning, actually, example, I'm just exaggerating it, right?
Sure.
So meaning the posting should have went up earlier, but actually
Right, as in the deliverable wasn't met. Like nothing was.
it was
wasn't-
delayed.
It was delayed.
It was delayed.
Okay.
Example. I mean, I'm just exaggerating it lah. There's no
Right.
like 1 year.
So I guess this is the second point you mentioned. This is more like you kind of have a quick like reputation check, like rep check,
Yes.
right? Like I don't need to go and ask so many people.
Yes.
I trust that the agency, because they've worked so many times, multiple jobs, multiple
Yes.
campaigns. There's a certain level of assurance,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Apart from that, I would say that when we work with influencers, it's also then when you first work with the influencer as yourself. If you directly reach out to them, yes, probably they will take up the campaign. Even those that respond to you, they will take up the campaign. But then it will be more on a very transactional approach, right? In a way, because the influencer will just I have to fulfill what's accordingly to the deliverables that this client or this brand give to me, right? Correct. So having said that, while they are balancing with so many other campaigns, then naturally they will really just do what's required.
Right.
Compared to, because they work with agency many times, many campaigns, that synergy is built up already. When I mentioned that, so say for example, as a brand, would you be able to build up that synergy with the influencer? The answer is yes, but it takes time, right? Maybe if the influencer work with you for about a year already, then naturally, the influencer is gonna prioritize your brand a lot more, gonna
Right.
be more passionate.
So I think I'm kind of imagining this.
Yeah,
So because if you reach out to an influencer, let's say I'm a new business, first time I'm reaching out to this
Yes,
person,
yes.
I'm starting from ground zero in terms of maybe like emotional points, for example,
Yes.
or relationship points.
Yes.
But if I go to an agency, let's say this influencer has done 50 campaigns,
Yes.
it's immediately here already. Like the relationship is already at a certain level.
Yes.
So you get a shortcut, a quick shortcut, rather than building up from zero.
Shortcut is one. Second, it's the passion. Actually, ultimately, the synergy and the passion would translate to the video. When I mentioned that, right, it's if they actually prioritize you a lot more now because they are familiar with you, the content definitely will be better, right? It might not be in terms of the very obvious type of things, but it's the intangible part of the video where when you talk about the product.
Okay.
In the video, it's gonna sound different, it's gonna look different because naturally they put in more effort for you. There's the intangible side. And apart from that, as I mentioned, it's actually because with the synergy and the familiarity, usually, I would say actually usually most agencies or most influencers, we see that typically within the first couple of months or first few months, it takes time to align the expectation on what the client want and what the influencer should do, it's not easy. That's why a lot of times as brands, when the influencer produce the content, it might not actually meet the initial expectation and they have to compromise the expectation according to it. But if the influencer work with you for a long time now, it's a lot easier.
Right. That you understand their style, they understand what you need.
Exactly.
Okay. So again, that I think is also like a shortcut. So just now we talked about like the relationship shortcut. Like there's some points that's automatically gained already when you go with an agency.
Yes.
The other side, I guess you're saying is that even the quality of the content.
Yes.
Because maybe the way that
they
talk to the influencer versus maybe like the project manager, because they know how to speak their lingo, like what do they want, what do you want to achieve. It comes across in the content or the videos and the photos, etc.
Exactly.
Okay. Good to know.
Input versus output. Yeah.
Right. Okay, maybe let's talk about the just kind of moving on to the another part of this conversation, right? So we talked about this is working from a client point of view. How about internally, like growing X10?
Yeah.
What was it like? Tell me about the teams, what the departments are like. Yeah. How is it like running this business?
Right.
Yeah.
So at peak we're a team of about 35 people across 3 markets. Definitely it's not easy. I mean, it's always every entrepreneur's dream to manage big teams. But bigger teams means bigger responsibility, heavier responsibilities, more problems you have to solve for them, right? Not easy. I would say that in terms of being able to firstly, keeping everyone's morale, secondly, being able to understand the team well, being able to I would say the HR actually is an important function. Very important function. Early stage founders, we really, because we are bootstrapping, right? So we might want to do the HR ourselves. But ever since I hired my first HR person, it makes a lot of difference. So that you can actually because being able to manage people well, it's a skill that will only be able to build through experience.
So HR department, right?
Yes, HR that would able to look at helping you to address certain staff concerns, for example.
Okay, so if we had to restart building, which I think you did, later we can talk about your new venture as well.
Yes.
Like we had to restart building a business, right?
Yes.
In your mind, what would be like do you have an order that you would set up these departments? And what would that be? Maybe the first 5 departments. Yeah. I
would say that the sales team is still the most important, right? Because with revenue, then you're able to hire your other departments, right? So first and foremost, sales team. Then secondly, you need your fulfillment team, right? And once we have that fulfillment team, then HR is a very important function that I see, and minimally you need your finance as well, right, to help you keep your books. I would say these are probably the important functions that we have.
For the people who are not familiar with fulfillment, what does fulfillment mean in different industries?
For agency wise, then it will be your project managers, right, running out the campaigns. For different industries, then say for example, if you're doing a products e-commerce brand, then it will be your operations team that would be liaising with the vendors to fulfill the order, or shipping, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so basically to fulfill that, either that product being delivered or that service being delivered. That's why they're fulfilling it. Okay.
Yeah, fulfillment team.
Sure. Okay. Maybe let's talk about, so you I saw in the news you were on Yahoo News and quite a lot of news outlets, right? I understand X10 has been is it like acquired by the Smart Local Group?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
How did that happen? Like what happened behind that?
Okay. Probably about in 2023, right? This was in 2023. I have an investor introduced from one of my existing partners in X10, actually my chairman, and he actually introduced this person to invest in us. So after the investor actually invested in us, we did a press release and press coverage on it. And just nice, this investor actually knows people from the Smart Logo team. And I think, one of the folks in the Smart Logo actually, start having conversations with my investor to kind of understand why invested, even what extent is about, and a lot more. So then I think a few months down, ever since that conversation, then the investor actually introduced the Smart Logo team to us. And then, we started having conversations, and that's how it happened.
Okay. So I'm going to dive a bit deeper and try to uncover a little bit more. Because a lot of the times we see, this company got acquired. There was a lot of investment in this other company. So news everywhere.
Yeah.
But can we go a bit behind the scenes, right? What was it that, these investors look at? Just like, well, maybe like, how did the conversation begin? What were certain questions that you think they would want to ask? And as I say, I'm a business owner. I'm trying to prepare myself for an investor like that, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you think mattered to Smart Local or to the investor?
I think, of course, the most important things is numbers.
Okay,
right?
numbers.
Right. So numbers. When I mention numbers, it's your profit, right? That's, I think, the minimum they would want to look at, right? So it starts from numbers. It starts from having a healthy profit margin. That's one. Second, it's then they will start looking at your processes and your workflow. This is so important. The importance of process is that if you notice, right, today, say for example, a Starbucks, right? There's a reason why, if they can actually, hire people in, and if you have a good process and a good workflow, anyone that comes in will be able to succeed at what they do, right? Be able to run the operations very smoothly for you. Sometimes is what I've learned over the years. It's beyond just hiring the right people. Hiring the right people is super important, but having the right process to enable your right people to succeed, it's equally important. Right. With the right people, without the right process, the right person might not succeed in helping you to achieve results.
Right. And does it work also the other way? Let's say I have set up, I guess processes, workflows, they're all systems like SOPs, standard operating procedures.
That's right.
Right. So even if I have documented this down to the T, like everything is recorded, video, and all that, step by step.
Yeah.
If I just find anybody, do you think you can just find anybody to kind of plug into that? Or does the right people still matter?
Good question. It depends on which function, of course, right? It depends on which function. Just now I mentioned Starbucks, for example, right? If today it's about making coffee, for example, or serving customers or handling the POS, that could be anyone. But if you're looking at example, we go back to HR function, right? Even though you have your process of, the set of interview questions, the set of criteria when you look at while vetting through resumes, you still require, certain experience to have that eye for what's the right type of people that you recruit, example, or the way there's the intangible side of things where it will only come with experience. So I would say it's a mix. It depends on the function.
Okay.
It depends on the function.
Maybe personally for yourself, when I guess you were involved in the interviews at the start, was there a time when you decided, okay, I found the right person that can sort of take over this interview? Like, when did you kind of step out?
I didn't step out.
Didn't step out. So all the way, you were growing a company. Every interview you will be there.
Not exactly.
Okay.
It depends on, I would say at that moment whether my schedule allow, right? But I would say I'll usually prioritize the senior hires, or at least minimum full-time hires. If it's more on a part-time or interns level, I usually let my leaders decide. But if it's a full-time or senior, I try to be involved. If I'm not available, then I will also trust my team to make the decision. I think it's something that I I realized that's very important is really to trust your team.
Trusting the team.
Yeah, trusting
Okay.
the team. Really trusting a team. When you trust the team, they can feel it. And
Okay,
when
how-
they actually feel your trust, they'll really push a lot harder for you.
Okay. What is the like? I mean, on this note of trust, because we're talking about people, we're talking about systems, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's culture like? Like, if let's say I went into Xten's office today, right? What would I see, and what would I not see in terms of the culture, the people?
I think first and foremost, giving the space. I would say giving the space for them to do what they think right. When I mention trusting a team, it's also being able to, as a leader, we have to embrace even if there's mistakes that they make, right? It's not just about ensuring they succeed, but also being able to embrace if they make mistakes. So coming back, I think Xten, the Xten now, we actually really do. I would say I discover all these things over the years. It doesn't mean that from day one we were like that.
Right. It was also a journey for yourself as a founder. Right?
It was a journey. It was a journey. In the early days, I would really zoom in a lot more on things, but now, we give them space to do what they think right. So I would say, I would say that, really you do have that space and that trust is given for you to do your things right. And from there, of course, we still have our weekly meetings.
Okay, so you are still actively involved right now,
Actively
right? What's your role right now in Xten?
Yeah, so I actually take care of the whole Xten team, across the markets, and specifically, I would say the sales function as well of the business unit, and then working together with some of the the TSL folks as well to ensure that the business unit continue operating well.
Okay. I don't know if this is a little bit sensitive to ask. How has it been like since I would say the acquisition? Like big changes or any, yeah.
I would say that it's actually an eye-opening experience. We don't know what we don't know, right? And it's only when actually we entered, the bigger organization, we start seeing certain systems or processes that we did not do in our old days. So that's really an eye-opening experience. Some of them, example, a more accurate way to even do your forecast of your revenue, for example, right? That's just for example. And then apart from that, it's also I would say especially in terms of systems and processes, I also actually get to see how prudent they are, even though being such a big organization, compared to how not so prudent we were.
Okay. How big is just curious? How big is like the TSL?
Close to 200 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Including like Xten.
Including Xten.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
I know you. I saw. I think on IG you just had a anniversary, like, was it dinner?
Yeah, dinner.
Dinner with your like the Xten team,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How was it like? What do the, because I think some of the, I don't know whether it's shows or dramas, they always talk about, like, obviously news lah. When the company gets acquired, a lot of people are unhappy and they leave, right? Like, yeah, how has it been for the team?
I'm of course being able to adapt to new processes, new workflow, a new culture. There would naturally be a bit of out of comfort zone, right? It's not everything is as smooth. We have to adapt, right? We have to adapt to the new workflow, the new structure, the new way of doing things. But I'm really glad that most of everyone in the team actually put through this 1 year to adapt to the new way of doing things, fulfilling things. But I think overall, the intention of this new way of doing things actually do bring the business to greater heights, right? Do allow us to, example, retain our clients better, to be able to grow our clients' account more as well. Yeah.
Right. There's this saying, like, I think I read it somewhere in a book. I can't remember off head which one. That the people that you started your business with might not be the people that will that bring you to the next stage,
Yeah.
right? So then there's, I think it's normal. I think it's also important to let new aspiring, like if you're a new startup or new business owner, right? It's normal that people will leave. But it's also I think how I personally see it is like it's a seasons of life thing. As in different seasons of life, different priorities for different things. Like for example, like as a let's say I'm aging already. I'm going to be like 50s, 60s, right? I might want to be in a role that's a little bit more in my comfort zone. I mean, I still might be learning, but maybe the pace might I want to dial it down a little bit. But maybe I've like just graduated, 25, 30 years old. I'm a young adult coming to the workforce. I want to go all out. Like, I want to dial it up to like 80, 90% or even 100%. Right? So I think that's something that as business owners, I think it's a good thing to kind of understand, and it's okay for people to leave, to move on to their next stage of their life. Yeah. In fact, sometimes I share with my leaders that it's okay to, we cannot have the mindset that, if I share all my skill sets and then this person leaves. Because I think if you zoom out to a bigger picture, I think what's more important is that every individual in the team is kind of growing, not just in their work scope, but I think even personally, like in their own personal life, right? If they are constantly growing and achieving their own personal goals, I think they would deliver also, like you said, they'll be more vested, they will be more invested to do well for work. Yeah.
Exactly. Completely agree.
So so we talked about the acquisition. So most of the team is still here. Which I think is great to know, right? So it's not like horror stories out there where everybody leaves when somebody gets acquired. And I think you also mentioned that it is actually it's also aligned to the point whereby now the business can bring even more value. Because you all have a bigger platform. There's more things you guys can do.
That's
right. Maybe let's talk about. I see this very beautiful like luggage over here.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about. It's a new venture.
Yeah, it's my latest venture.
Okay.
6 months now. We started in October last year. But it's an idea in the making about a year ago.
Okay. Why I guess this is like related to the travel space, right?
Yes, travel space.
Why luggages?
Firstly, everyone loves to travel, right? So I've always wanted to build a product business. Reason why, because I've been serving so many brands and clients and marketers over the past years. And, I want to kind of market my own brand, right? I think that's exciting. That gives me, another level of achievement. But apart from that, because, I'm in the space, I know so many influencers, and then, having your own brand on product makes a lot of sense to kind of expand and diversify my own portfolio. Apart from that, another personal reason why I dive into the products e-commerce space, because I actually run a founders community network as well. It's called the Founders Circle, and from there, I actually do a bit of consulting for some founders, and being able to then expand my experience beyond just the marketing agency space. Diving into product space, it will allow me to, in the future or near future, also share my experience, in the product e-commerce D2C type of space, and how I scale as well. So I'm building my experience on that, and that's actually all how I always started out. Why I even started out is because as I continue to go into my 40s or even 50s, I think ultimately I hope to be able to consult more and more founders, especially early stage, because over the years I understand the importance of having a mentor, right? Having the right people to guide you to, people that been there, done that, to help you avoid the hard knocks as well. So I would say that's my primary personal motivation on why do I start a new business in a new industry. But then coming back, why travel, why luggage? I I mean, each of us, we travel a lot. I travel especially a lot because of work, right? To Malaysia, to Indonesia, for business. And, usually at the airports, we see everyone carrying different luggages, right? And what I usually notice or realize is that actually, while your luxury luggages are very nice, right? Your luxury luggage is very nice, but not a lot of people actually do carry or be able to afford your luxury luggage. And then what I then observe is the rest of people are just carrying luggages probably bought off from Taobao or neighborhood shop, for example, right? And where the design is very basic. Sometimes this luggage that you buy from Taobao, usually I usually hear a lot of the wheels are not as good, or it's very flimsy, breaks easily, or they have to change multiple luggage. Not just actually them, myself also, right? And then if you realize there's people, I mean, these days actually people they carry very nice water bottles, they carry very nice your phone case, right, that we can really be proud of, right? Like that
it says something about you as well.
Yeah, it says something about you, right?
There's some level of because I noticed the details as well. It's customizable, right? Like it's bespoke to you. You can choose. I was looking online at the website. Like you can choose your name. You can choose things like, I think like this one has a quote that says, "Never give up because great things take time."
Yeah.
It's okay. If you just want to put a quote, it's also okay.
Yeah.
Why the customization?
Yeah. So coming back to as I mentioned, these days, while we are really, we are proud of our very nice phone cases, we are proud of our very nice laptop case. We are very proud of, some really nice things that we actually buy for ourselves, right? That actually resonate or speaks our personality. I'm quite confident to say that most of us, we are still not proud of the luggage that we carry.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that is why I started Flyco.
Like
right?
not many people actually think about their luggage when it comes to something that's maybe like a statement piece or something that talks about, like, shows me, right?
Exactly. And a lot of us, we buy from Taobao. I strongly believe it's not just because of the affordability, but because there's nothing else in the market that's worth
that
value. That
value for money. Okay.
That value.
Okay.
So that is why while myself, right, I've been changing luggages, trying to find the right one. That's when I decided, hey, I want to build a luggage brand to kind of solve the problem of, firstly, being able to carry a luggage that you are proud of. Second, affordability as well, right? So our luggage are actually priced between $299, $399, right? Where it's more on the affordable side compared to your luxury luggages. Third, a luggage that you can actually bring it overseas. Now, a lot of times, we book like very nice hotels that or flights to very nice countries. Then again, while we look forward to the activities that we can do there,
right,
that process of carrying your luggage from your home to your airport, right? Then then even sometimes at airport, when you reach the other country's airport, then sometimes they might not exactly alight you at the boarding gate, right? Sometimes they alight you somewhere further away, and you have to kind of either take a bus or do quite a bit of a walk,
right?
Yeah,
there's some kind of shuttle, or you got to pull some journey.
That process of actually, before you reach your dream destination, where you're on Bali enjoying your beach, right? There's still that process where you check in, you bring your luggage on the streets to the hotel, to the check-in. That process, it's definitely not the best experience if you don't have a good luggage.
Right.
So Being able to have a luggage with really good wheels, very smooth wheels, so that when you when you're actually carrying your luggage, it's easy to move around, right? Then again, also to look at luggage that's really lightweight. Now, why that's so important?
Right. So there's a few things you mentioned. So Sky, you mentioned the wheels.
Yeah.
The weight.
Yes.
So okay. Can we talk about the wheels? Like what defines a good wheel? Like how do you even know whether it's a good wheel?
Right.
I thought it's just something that helps the luggage kind of like roll along. Like
right. So one, it's definitely a good wheel. It's it allow you to navigate through very tight spaces. That's one.
So when you're kind of like maneuvering, turning it around, turning.
Yeah,
okay.
That's one. Secondly, bumpy roads.
Okay.
Right.
I know
mean,
what that.
On smooth surface, no difference, right? But it's on when you go through bumpy roads, right? When you actually kind of sometimes on certain places you have to carry it a certain way instead of just pushing it very very easily, right? Because of the nature of the road. Even when you talk about lightweight, why is so important? Because same thing, it doesn't matter if you have you're traveling with a few friends or your family that can help you to carry, for example. But apart from that, there are certain countries where when you actually when you take the train, or example, if you're in Korea or Japan, you realize that there's not much elevators or lift.
Stairs.
And then you really
everywhere.
have to carry your luggage up
Okay.
the stairs. That's when it matters, right? It doesn't matter when you're in Singapore, right?
Yes.
But that's where it truly matters, and you want you want to fully enjoy your travel, not just at your destination, but that journey while you're flying there, you're reaching your hotel.
Okay, I hear you.
Before you,
the entire journey basically, like if you can carry a nice maybe like for ladies handbag or backpack for guys, right? Why can't the luggage also be part of that journey that showcases not just showcases, but I think is like why can't it be part of that process? That's what you're saying. Like why can't it be something I'm proud of?
Yes.
It's not just it's just a box for me to dump stuff and then reach my destination, open, and then I use my stuff.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay.
That's why we love traveling so much. It needs to be a full-on
experience, right?
Full-on experience that allow us to enjoy the travel.
Okay. I see I mean most luggages I see have zippers. This one doesn't have zippers. What is that? Like is that a click system?
It's just a click. 2 clicks and your luggage will be open.
Okay. And this is this common?
The answer is yes and no. There are luggages with just lock, but I would say there are also quite a lot of luggage that usually have that zipper function. So I would say even just this small simple design difference, it's
what does this solve?
It will actually allow you to, as I say, small things. Usually, it might not make a difference if today you're very comfortable in a hotel, whether it's zip or you just open it. 2 clicks and you open, right? That difference. But it's example when you realize that I left mine. I need to take out my power bank from my
before you check
luggage
in, right?
while you actually check in. So that's when all these small things, it makes a difference because you need to quickly open up your luggage, right? Or when you realize that your weight limit exit and you need to take out something. Example, all these things that you need to open up your luggage. All these things actually would kind of allow you to travel.
Okay, so this is basically like a quick open system as compared to an entire. You got to unzip the whole thing.
Yes,
okay,
yes, correct.
What's the goal for Flyco? Like, what's the big goal?
Right. The big goal it's beyond just luggage. In terms of the product space, we are actually looking at expanding the product verticals beyond just luggage. But of course, luggage wise, we are also planning to expand a few more series. Right. We want to go beyond just I would say the aesthetics side of the series, where we want to start looking at other type of luggage options, right? Not just in terms of sizes, but in terms of the look, in terms of the function, right? We are looking at smarter luggages as well. So smart luggage series is something that in the future we'll look at progressing, right? The more Apple type of direction, right?
Okay.
Right. Apart from that, in terms of then we are also looking at backpacks, duffel bags, type of that would align with travel, because we know that sometimes you need an additional
like a backpack or carry on.
Yeah. So that's where we are moving towards, and then And then beyond that, we are actually looking at transforming Flyco into a more travel lifestyle brand overall. So I mean by that, it will be just beyond products. Yeah, we're looking at
What does
doing
the
more
lifestyle
in the
part mean?
travel, more in the travel space.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to do community building. We want to do more of a group travels. I mean, a lot more in the whole travel space beyond just luggage. While luggage will still be our primary and core business unit, and then we start doing more community activities around it, even together with influencers, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that that was just so insightful. So we talked about like your entire journey in building the influencer marketing agency, and then
Yes.
now you are also in the travel and lifestyle space, and you
Yes.
also have the founders circle, founders circle. So that's a bit about like coaching and giving back to new. And you spoke about you want to help like small business owners, right? SMEs.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So I think to our audience, I hope you found this useful. I think there were quite a lot of nuggets you guys should go and replay back, this video. There were a lot of checklists, a lot of things that you can look out for if you are looking into, if let's say a business owner looking to market using influencers,
Yes.
how an agency is different from going direct. I think there was a very good checklist there. Thanks for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sky.
Thank you as
Thanks
well
so much time.
for hosting.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.